Section 8 of The Case of the Golden Bullet by Grace Isabel Colburn and Auguste Groner. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Several hours later, Muller re-entered the police station in his home town and saw the windows of the chief's apartment brilliantly lighted. "What's going on?" he asked of Bauer's servant, who was just hurrying up the stairs. "The mistress's birthday. We've got company." Muller grumbled something and went up to his own room. He knew it would not be pleasant for his patron to be disturbed in the midst of entertaining his guests, but the matter was important and could not wait. The detective laid off his outer garments, made a few changes in his toilet, and putting the goldsmith's declaration, with the ring and the bullet in his pocketbook, went down to the first floor of the building, in one wing of which was the apartment occupied by the chief. He sent in his name and was told to wait in the little study. He sat quietly in a corner of the comfortable little room, beyond which, in a handsomely furnished smoking room, a number of guests sat playing cards. From the drawing rooms beyond there was the sound of music and many voices. It was all very attractive and comfortable, and the solitary man sat there enjoying once more the pleasant sensation of triumph, of joy at the victory that was his alone and that would win him back all his old friends and prestige. He was looking forward in agreeable anticipation to the explanations he had to give, when he suddenly started and grew pale. His eyes dimmed a moment, then he pulled himself together and murmured, "No, no, not this time. I will not be weak this time." Just then the chief entered the room, accompanied by Councillor Kniepp. "Won't you sit down here a little?" asked the friendly host. "You will find it much quieter in this room." He pulled up a little table laden with cigars and wine close to the comfortable armchair. Then, noticing Muller, he continued with a friendly nod, "I'm glad they told you to wait in here. You must be frozen after your long ride. If you will wait just a moment more, I will return at once and we can go into my office. And if you will make yourself comfortable here, my dear Kniepp, I will send our friend Horn in to talk with you. He is bright and jovial, and will keep you amused." The chief chattered on, making a strenuous endeavor to appear quite harmless. But Kniepp, more apt than ever just now to notice the action of others, saw plainly that his genial host was concealing some excitement. When the latter had gone out, the Councillor looked after him, shaking his head. Then his glance fell by chance on the quiet-looking man who had risen at his entrance and had not sat down again. "Please sit down," he said in a friendly tone, but the other did not move. His gray eyes gazed intently at the man whose fate he was to change so horribly. Kniepp grew uneasy under the stare. "What is there that interests you so about me?" he asked in a tone that was an attempt at a joke. The ring on your watch chain," murmured Muller. "It belonged to my dead wife. I have worn it since she left me," answered the unhappy man, with the same iron calm with which he had, all these past days, been emphasizing his love for the woman he had lost. Yet the question touched him unpleasantly, and he looked more sharply at the strange man over in the corner. He saw the latter's face turn pale, and a shiver run through his form. A feeling of sympathy came over Kniepp, and he asked warmly, "Won't you take a glass of this wine? If you have been out in the cold, it will be good for you." His tone was gentle, almost cordial, but the man whom he offered the refreshment turned from him with a gesture that was almost one of terror. The Councillor rose suddenly from his chair. "Who are you? What news is it you bring?" he asked with a voice that began to tremble. Muller raised his head sharply as if his decision had been made, and his kind, intelligent eyes grew soft as they rested on the pale face of the stately man before him. "I belong to the secret police, and I am compelled to find out the secrets of others. Not because of my profession, no, because my own nature compels me. I must do it." I have just come from Vienna, and I bring the last of the proofs necessary to turn you over to the courts. And yet you are 1,000 times better than the coward who stole the honor of your wife, and who hid behind the shelter of the law. And therefore, Muller's voice grew hoarse, then died away altogether. Kuyp listened with pallid cheeks, but without a quiver. Now he spoke, completing the other's words. "And therefore you wish to save me from the prison or from the gallows? I thank you. What is your name?" The unhappy man spoke as calmly as if the matter scarcely concerned him at all. The detective told him his name. "Muller." "Muller," repeated the Councillor, as if he were particularly anxious to remember the name. He held out his hand to the detective. "I thank you, A.B. Indeed, thank you," he said with the first sign of emotion he had shown, and then added low, "Do not fear that you will have trouble on my account. They can find me in my home." With these words he turned away and sat down in his chair again. When Bauer entered the room a few moments later, Kuyp was smoking calmly. "Now, Muller, I am ready. Horn will be in a moment, friend Kuyp. I know you will enjoy his chatter." The chief led the way out of the room through another door. He could not see the ghastly pale face of the guest he had left behind him, for it was almost hidden in a cloud of thick smoke. But Muller turned back once more at the threshold and caught a last grateful glance from eyes shadowed by deep sadness, as the Councillor raised his hand in a friendly gesture. "Mr. Muller, you take so long to get at the point of a story. Don't you see you are torturing me?" This outburst came from the chief about an hour later. But the detective would not permit himself to be interrupted in spinning out his story in his own way, and it was nearly another hour before Bauer knew that the man whose name he had long been waiting for was Leo Kuyp. The knowledge came as a terrible surprise to him. He was dazed almost. "And I've got to arrest him in my own house?" he exclaimed as if horrified. And Muller answered calmly, "I doubt if you will have the opportunity, sir." "Muller, did you again?" "Yes, I did. I have again warned an unfortunate. It's my nature, I can't seem to help it. But you will find the Councillor in his home. He promised me that." "And you believe it?" "That man will keep his promise," said Muller quietly. Councillor Kuyp did keep his promise. When the police arrived at the hunting castle shortly after midnight, they found the terrified servants standing by the body of their master. "Well, Muller, you had better luck than you deserved this time," Bauer said a few days later. "This last trick has made you quite impossible for the service. But you needn't worry about that, because the legacy Kuyp left you will put you out of reach of want." The detective was as much surprised as anybody. He was as if dazed by his unexpected good fortune. The day before he was a poor man, bowed under the weight of sordid cares, and now he was the possessor of 20,000 gulden. And it was not his clever brain but his warm heart that had won this fortune for him. His breast swelled with gratitude as he thought of the unhappy man whose life had been ruined by the careless cruelty of others and his own passions. Again and again he read the letter which had been found on Kuyp's desk, addressed to him, and which had been handed out to him after the inquest. "My friend, you have saved me from the shame of an open trial. I thank you for this from the very depths of my heart. I have left you a part of my own private fortune, that you may be a free man, free as a poor man can never be. You can accept this present, for it comes from the hand of an honest man in spite of all. Yes, I compelled my wife to go to her death, after I had compelled her to confess her shame to me, and I entered her lover's house with the knowledge I had forced from her. When I looked through the keyhole and saw his false face before me, I murdered him in cold blood. Then, that the truth might not be suspected, I continued to play the sorrowing husband. I wore on my watch chain the ring I had had made in imitation of the one my wife had worn. This original ring of hers, her wedding ring, which she had defiled, I sent it in the form of a bullet straight to her lover's heart. Yes, I have committed a crime, but I feel that I am less criminal than those two whom I judged and condemned, and whose sentence I carried out as I now shall carry out my own sentence, with a hand which will not tremble. That I can do this myself, I have you to thank for, you who could look into the souls of men and recognize the most hidden motives, you who have not only a wonderful brain, but a heart that can feel. You, I hope, will sometimes think kindly of your grateful Leo Kuyp. Muller kept this letter as one of his most sacred treasures. The Kuyp case was really, as Bauer had predicted, the last in Muller's public career. Even the friendliness of the kind old chief could not keep him in his position after this new display of the unreliability of his heart. But his quiet tastes allowed him to live in humble comfort from the income of his little fortune. Every now and then letters or telegrams will come for him, and he will disappear for several days. His few friends believe that the police authorities, who refuse to employ him publicly owing to his strange weakness, cannot resist a private appeal to his talent whenever a particularly difficult case arises. End of The Case of the Golden Bullet. Read for you by Dawn Larson in Minnesota.